one thing I am definitely going to do is talk to this 9-year NFL vet. He was the 2017 Walter Payton Man of the Year recipient for the Colts. He was a first-team All-Conference player at UConn. He was the 41st pick overall in 2009. He is the creator and host of the Everything DB show on YouTube. He is co-host of the Man to Man podcast. He is Darius Butler. Darius, what's cracking? How are you?
Hey, I'm good, Jim. Thanks for having me again.
Dude, good to have you. Always good to have you. So let me start, Darius, with the news of the day. The Pats announced this morning that Cam Newton is going to be out until Thursday after, quote, a misunderstanding regarding COVID protocol. What was your reaction, Darius, when you first heard that news?
Yeah, my instant reaction, actually, I was on with AB this morning on the pod, and I'm like, hey, that sounds a little fishy to me. Coming out of, obviously it's the quarterback battle going on there. I said it kind of jokingly, but it is obviously a lot of new, things surrounding the COVID protocols and maybe some things that are in the fine print. But I was in New England for 2 years, and that organization, that team, that coach, they don't miss anything. So to hear that news, it was shocking to hear that news with your starting quarterback. And then obviously my eyebrows were raised a little bit because of the quarterback competition that's going on. So I don't know about that one right now.
Darius Butler joining us. I agree with you. In fact, you answered what I was going to ask you. It does, the word fishy I think is appropriate. For instance, you started your career with the Pats. You know how detail-oriented they are. Of all teams, I would not expect there to be, quote, a misunderstanding. So where does that leave them? Like Josh McDaniels said yesterday that Cam is the starter. How significant, Darius, is that Cam is going to miss time at this point in camp and that Mac Jones will get more first-team reps? How does that impact that competition?
I mean, it is significant. I can't sit here and say that it's not. I don't think it should necessarily be a question or debate who starts week one. I think Cam should be the clear-cut starter from week one. But Mac Jones, he has looked good in preseason, and the kind of narrative surrounding that team. A lot of people are, hyping up the Mac Jones train. So now that Cam will miss this time, I think they'll be joint practicing with the Giants. If Mac Jones, he's getting all the reps with the ones now. I would assume so. So if he goes this week and impresses, obviously that'll help his chances a lot. But I'm still shocked at this whole misunderstanding with the test. Cam looked, because coming off his second game, he looked great. He looked great in the pocket. He looked efficient as a passer. He was making throws. He looked healthy. So I was excited about him going forward. But it could be a minor setback and much to do about nothing come week one. But, if Mac starts to play well, it can change the dynamic of this battle.
Right. Darius Butler joining us. All right, so when we talk about quarterback battles, what do you make of how Trey Lance showed up last night?
He started off a little shaky, and obviously, when he was playing against the starters on the defensive side for the Chargers, it didn't look great. And as the games went on, nerves got better, players got worse, and but he made some impressive throws. I think some question marks with his accuracy, obviously, and the velocity that he puts on the ball. But his talent is through the roof. His potential is through the roof. Luckily I have a guy in Jimmy G that can start some games until he's ready. And when he's ready, it'll be a scary sight for defense in the NFL. But right now, I think the best thing for him to do is just, keep learning, keep getting those reps, keep, having those meetings. And, when his number is finally called, I'm sure, I'm more than sure that he'll be ready.
Darius Butler joining us. In fact, what about that? Like Jimmy G, him staying healthy has been an issue to be sure, but he's played well when he has been healthy. He led them to the Super Bowl. Does Lance, in your opinion, Darius, does Lance make them a better team even if Jimmy G does stay healthy?
It's hard to say that because just like you said, Jimmy G was in the Super Bowl. He's 10 minutes away from being a Super Bowl champion, as a quarterback, and everybody knows his record as a starter. So it's tough to say that. I think the potential, but as we know, you've covered sports for a long time, potential can get guys fired as well. And you got to see it. And Jimmy G has put the product out on the field. He's a winning quarterback. He's not going to, blow the doors off as far as talent and arm strength and arm talent, but he knows where to go with the ball. He's going to put his team in a position to win, obviously with Kyle Shanahan calling the shots on offense. And, when you got Trey Lance, when he's ready, he'll be ready. And I think the Niners right now probably have the best quarterback situation, in the league, so it's not a bad spot for them to be in. But, I would go with the veteran from week one and, let Trey get more practice reps, more meetings, And then when he's ready, man, just take the seatbelt off and let him run.
Darius Butler breaking it down for us. All right, so I heard everything you just said. Would you answer the next question the same way as it relates to Chicago? In other words, what do you make of the way they've handled their situation with Andy Dalton and Justin Fields? Or is that different?
You know, that's a different situation for me. That whole team makeup is different. Obviously, even the play caller, and you got Matt Nagy. You know, obviously in San Francisco, Shanahan, Lynch, those guys are secure. In Chicago, you got Matt Nagy and Ryan Pace, who are on the hot seat. And, you know, I think Justin Fields gives that team the best chance to win from week one. I can't say the same in San Fran, but in Chicago, I think it's clear that Justin Fields will give that team, you know, the better chance for this season. You know, they could potentially have realistically a second-place finish in that division. I don't think that's the case with Andy Dalton at quarterback. He's had a good career, you know, thus far, so it's no knock against him. But I think at this point in his career, you know, he's a good backup. And Justin Fields can be a guy who has an outstanding rookie year. So, you know, you got that line up front. That's going to be some issues for whoever's playing quarterback with how it looks now. But, you know, I will put the young guy out there.
Darius Butler, my guest. Listen, you just answered it, but I was going to put it to you another way. Like, from a defensive back standpoint, from where you were sitting, who would you rather face? A vet like Andy Dalton, who doesn't have the highest ceiling ever, but has seen a lot of stuff, or a rookie like Justin Fields, who you know is dynamic, man? The guy's electric, but you can throw stuff at him that he has not seen before. Generally, as a DB, who would you rather face?
You know, early on, I would rather face the rookie. You know, I would be honest in saying I would rather face the rookie just because it's things that they haven't seen. Obviously, Justin Fields is a great athlete as well. He ran, you know, high 4.3, 4.4s, so he can make things happen, and he can extend plays and even make things happen with his arms. But, you know, early on, I would rather take on the rookie. But as he gets these reps under his belt, some real live rounds out there later on in the season, you know, week 12, week 13, you know, I would want Justin Fields to be out there and be the starter if I'm in that Chicago Bears locker room. But early on as a defensive back, you know, you always want to take the rookie early.
I get that. Darius Butler back in the jungle. All right, so what about Darius, Carson Wentz, and Quentin Nelson? They were back in practice for the Colts today. What did you make of that video that the Colts posted of Wentz moving around? How did he look to you?
I mean, that was incredible. You know, obviously not being in the building and not knowing the severity of the injury, it's all question marks. But, you know, Frank Wright and Chris Ballard, they've been very, very positive from the jump, even right after surgery, as far as the outlook for Quentin Nelson and Carson. And to see that video, and then I've heard that he's done 7-on-7, and, you know, he was throwing in 1-on-1. So he was doing pretty much a full practice, you know, because quarterbacks don't get hit, obviously. So, I mean, very, very exciting news for Coach Nation. You know, I'm happy, you know, that he's healthy, and I'm, you know, excited about this season, especially if he's going to be taking a snap week one, because the quarterbacks behind him right now, Easton and Ellinger, don't look great. So if he can get out there and be healthy, man, I'm excited about that.
I mean, that'd be amazing, right? Especially given the procedure he had. Is there any part of you that might be concerned that he's coming back too quickly, given that he just had foot surgery?
You know, that was AB's take. He said, you know, kind of nervous. He would still hold off because this is an injury, like you said, that goes back until high school, I think. But, you know, it's a long season. It's a 17, you know, game season this year. So I don't think the coach, that staff, you know, I know that medical staff, that training staff, I don't think they would rush him back out there in the field if he wasn't ready. You know, this is the guy that you hope is the quarterback of your future. You want to risk that for, you know, holding him out or putting him out there 2 more games early. Like, I don't think that would be the smart decision. So I think he'll be ready if he's out there week 1. And those videos, I mean, being this close removed from surgery, were very, very impressive and surprising.
They were. I was really surprised when I saw that myself. Darius Butler breaking it all down for us for a few more moments. Darius, what do you make of John Gruden ripping his team off the field after a training camp fight or fights with the Rams? I mean, the players didn't seem to be really bent out of shape about that. So when you're going through joint practices with another team and guys are jawing with each other, I mean, aren't fights inevitable? Isn't that just a lock that that's going to happen at some time?
Definitely going to happen, especially with the joint practices, but even, you know, practices amongst your own team. You may be a little more hesitant to fight your own teammate, but once another guy finally comes in there with another jersey, another helmet on, you know, those things are going to happen. It must have gotten to the point where, you know, it was affecting the practice and the time. You know, time is super valuable to these coaches and these players in training camp. So if it got to the point where, you know, guys are, you know, getting in little spats and dust-ups in every drill, maybe you just separate and just end the practice. But, they need to be pros, man. Get through the practice and then maybe take the helmets and pass off and square up like Hill and Shepard out there in Cleveland and New York.
Yeah, seriously, I'm glad you brought that up. I was going to say, what about Sterling Shepard and Troy Hill? They did square up without their helmets after that joint practice. What did you make of that?
I mean, it had to be a lot of chirping going on during practice. And I had to call my guy Anthony Walker. He was in the background, and his facial expressions were hilarious. So I had to call him to get the scoop. But like I said, there was a bunch of chirping during practice. And then, they squared up after. And, I can respect that. It's smart. Don't break your hand on a helmet. And you go do what you got to do, and you got to show up to practice the next day like nothing happened. It's a lot of testosterone out there on that field. So those things are going to happen, but at least they didn't affect, the flow of practice.
So, Darius, how did you approach that when you played? Like training camp fights, did you get into them, or did you do what you could to steer clear of them?
You know what? I was trying to preserve my energy, man. It was hot out there, and I'm doing a lot of running. Like, it may be a little pushing, but as you get older, you kind of stay out of the fray, you stay out of the mix. But the guys that talk the most trash are definitely the DBs and the wide receivers because, the big guys, it's too hot for them to be, going at it. They got to save and preserve their energy too. But I try to stay clear of training camp fights. Now, if one of my guys got into it, you got to add on because we definitely watched the tape after the fight, and it's going to be pointed out if you didn't act accordingly for your teammate.
In fact, it kind of elaborate on that. That's a fact, right? Like if that comes to be and you sit down and you watch that tape, that your guys in your room, they're going to say, hey, man, where the hell were you? Where were you? That happens, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure, because they always keep the cameras rolling. And, the coaches, they're going to get on TV and the pressers and say, we can't be having those things happen and blah, blah, blah. But, coaches, I think they quietly, they get a little excited about those fights. And then you kind of see, how certain guys are wired because, it's going to be some repercussions from that. But if your guy goes in there, if it's your quarterback, somebody hits your quarterback late or, somebody blocks a DB of yours downfield after the whistle or excessive, and they get into it, you got to show up. And you never pull your own guy out of the pile. You pull another colored jersey, you always got your teammates back. We definitely watch that film and break it down. So you got to be accountable at all times. It's
good stuff. Darius, before you go, you were also tweeting the other day about the gunner position. For those who do not know, what is life like as a gunner?
Fortunately, I don't have a ton of first-hand experience. I was able to finesse my way out of playing some real gunner, but I was a part of the Vice, who are the guys responsible for stopping and blocking the gunners. And, man, those are the guys that run down and should be the first guys down the field on a punt team. And usually on punt return teams, you put two guys on them, so it's a 2-on-1 fight. It's two grown men, going against one. So you got to have a different mindset to be good at that position for even a year. So a guy like Matt Slater or Tywan Jones or somebody like that who's been doing it over a decade and still dominating out there, I mean, it's a different life. It really needs to be a 30 for 30 or a documentary of some sort on that gunner position and how those guys are wired.
I like it. It's like it's not a position; it's a lifestyle, right?
You gotta have something a little off to do that. It's been some freaks of nature that they put out there to it. Dalius Thomas, Brandon Jacobs, I'm sure has had some reps. I remember seeing Greg Hardy out there, gunner. So it's one of those positions where it's kill or be killed, put it like that.
That is too much. Brandon Jacobs, no less. All right, so he's the creator and host of the Everything DB Show, which you can see on YouTube. He is co-host of the Man to Man podcast, good friend of this program as well, and a 9-year vet and a Walter Payton Award winner. Darius, great to have you back, man. Appreciate you as always.
Appreciate you as always having me, Jim.
Good talking to you, Darius. Love it. Darius Butler.